You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, presented by the Only One Media Group. This is the people's choice for quality interviews, celebrities, and special guests. Hosted by Demetrius Dini Reynolds. Call in to join the mix at 701-801-9813. For the complete archive of episodes, visit onlyonemediagroup.com and be sure to like us on Facebook at Vigilantes Radio. We welcome all. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds. Enjoy the show.
Good morning, and welcome to another awesome episode of Vigilantes Radio. I'm your host, dini-mussolini, and guys, this is a pre-recorded episode. It's unlike our live shows, but I definitely can't wait to deliver this interview to your mailboxes and post it through all our distribution sites. So yeah, we have a very special guest that I'm super excited about this morning. So I could never speak in front of a large group. I could never lose that much weight. I could never take that trip. I could never start my own business. I could never sell anything. I could never. How many I could nevers have you forced yourself to believe? Each one of them is a lie. A convenient vehicle you use to stay within your comfort zone. I could never. Sure you can. When you can't imagine it, you can do it. And anything that's possible for you to imagine yourself not doing, anything that you could put in your pile of I could nevers is most certainly within your reach. What I could never are you hiding behind? Imagine what can happen when you come out from behind it. Stop defeating your own dreams with I could never. Just the fact that you have to keep telling yourself I could never is proof that you would indeed like to do it. So what are you waiting for? Sure you can. It will be difficult and scary and uncomfortable, yet your dreams is aching to be set free, and you're the one who can do it. So yeah, sure you can. Take that from me, dini-mussolini. That is my word, and word is bond.
You're live in the mix. Let's get this started.
Yo, hello and welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Music or Inside the Book, Inside the Business, where we dive into the minds of the people who create marvelous things. It feels so good to be back with you guys once again. So one time for my people who are indigos, crystalline or starseeds, or for my Vigilantes audience family, and 2 times for my people who are vegetarian or vegans. If you're like me, we are averaging over 37,000 live listeners, and we've been at this for 4 solid years. I appreciate all you guys who've been rocking with the kid on this journey, and we are still evolving, baby. It is all because of you, most definitely. We are the people who have dedicated their lives to music, spirituality, business, literature, art, movies, and research in every aspect, and we want to allow you an opportunity to tell your story. Man, we've had celebrities on our show, from Grammy Award winning artists to nominees to actors, comedians, CEOs, technology geniuses, visual artists, from authors to professors and aliens. Or people think they're aliens. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Come on our show and talk to me. So check it out. To book an interview or just to share a real cool story, email me at vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. And that's V as in Victor. I'm passionate about what I do, just as passionate about what you do, and together Yes, together we can get your voice heard by the people who should hear it. So let's create something incredible. You know the number to dial, 701-801-9813. Text that number to your buddy right now and tell them to tune in to connect with us or our guests, or you can hop in the mix directly from our website, onlyonemediagroup.com. Right from the homepage, you can slap that go live button and you'll be right here live in the mix and in the chat room with all of us. Feel free to shoot over some questions to ask our guests while they are here, but only as time permits. Sometimes my guests and I talk entirely too much and we take up the entire hour. And as always, all episodes are available for free download, and you can grab that from either Spreaker.com/onlyonemediagroup, iTunes, YouTube, or any app from the Google Play or iTunes store, or over at our website. And that goes for every single episode that we ever aired.
All right. Well, we are the people who have dedicated their weekdays, even nights, to music, books, films, news, business ventures, and just talk in general. From our incredible writing and promotion on our new Facebook page, by the way, be sure to go like that, to our interviews and music shows, Vigilantes Radio, or our spiritual and a tool of the talk on a show that we have called Skeptics of the Handshake. We spend each and every day giving our maximum effort to create a vibrant, exciting, indie and professional community for all creative minds that coexist in this beautiful artistic world. So our special guest today is kind of a unique one. She's the tea-maven, and absolutely love tea, so this will be exciting. Her name is Dr. Janet-Walsh, and she'll be my guest this morning. And also, guys, unfortunately, I'm a little under the weather this week, so if you hear me being all nasally, that is why. Anyway, let's go ahead and bring her on. Hello, how are you?
Good morning. I am great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Well, I wish I had an app so I could beam you a cup of tea to help with your throat, but I haven't created that yet, but I need to work on it. I certainly hope that doesn't last long.
Yeah, that'll be revolutionary.
Right.
All right, so I guess we should start at the very tip of the top. Who are you?
Okay.
How was your life like? The highs, the lows, and how did it all lead to where you are now?
Wow, what a first question. Well, I am Janet Walsh. I like to say a librarian by day and a tea-maven by night. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, raised with 4 brothers. I actually have 5 brothers. I am the youngest of 5, and so being raised, I did have tea parties growing up, but I also played a lot of pickup basketball, and I worked on cars with my brothers and through newspapers with my brothers, and so some of my early time in Memphis certainly was spent with families and in community with my brothers. And also sort of as just a natural part of my early communities, my church in Memphis, where we grew up, and every Sunday after church there would be 2 men making the best iced tea you could ever imagine out of this gargantuan silver 5-gallon stock pot. And so I like to say I was definitely raised on sweet tea in a wonderful family, and did some of my early educational work at Fisk University. Hey, Fisk. And really wanted to, just as a part of my normal exploration, always have been sort of curious about how things worked, and so it was not uncommon. We spent weekly visits at the library, and so again, I found myself, like, one question would always find yourself asking another question and another question. And so that trajectory certainly helped me as I started a career as a librarian. And just as you sort of steep information, you find yourselves in some other situations. Certainly, the curious, I like to say my tea story really started in Memphis in my great-grandmother's backyard. And as a fourth-generation tea maker, she went to the backyard and she picked herbs out from the garden, and then, of course, connected to, the men in my church who made, like, this great tea out of for 25 cents, and then just moving to some of my shared experiences where early on when I was stressed or not feeling well, Mom would make tea or my brothers would make tea, or I would just have tea for myself. But then sort of this full tea journey started when I was trying to impress someone with the cup of tea because they had mentioned that they had had a great cup of tea. And so my whole sort of tea entrepreneurship, that journey started really just trying to impress somebody. And it was the almost an indelible impression because it just opened up this amazing world of curiosity for blending, curiosity for community, and just all these kinds of things that bring us all together over tea.
Yes. I love it. And you're from Memphis, so I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. We're practically cousins, 3 hours.
We are cousins. Yes, we do.
Yeah, Memphis is a wonderful city. I love it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, life sounded interesting for you. So, you began your tea company, and it's called Tea and Company.
Yes, Tea and Company.
Yeah. And what gave you the inspiration to venture into your own business?
See, again, we talk about this whole kind of curiosity. I think many people know exactly what they want to do with life. I like this tea adventure for me is because, even each day, each month, each year, the dots really start to connect themselves. I'm trying to blend a cup of tea to impress someone. But in that discovery, it's okay, how can you impress someone without knowing all the wheels, all the flavors on the wheels? And so you suddenly find yourself immersed into all of this flavor chart and trying to say, okay, I need to get this just right. And then you find yourself okay, how can I immerse in the flavors without necessarily knowing where all of these flavors, which countries, which regions, all of these come from, and, how can you not know these kinds of things? So that sort of opened up, and so I went from taking some of those original blends. It's one original blend which was a fruit tea. And it started just saying, okay, thankfully you have friends who will drink what you make, and you give them a sip here, and they're oh, this is good. And then it just expanded once to someone saying, hey, can you provide beverage to my wedding reception? Sure. How many people are you having? 20? No, I'm having hundreds. And so you sort of move into that, and then at my church in Nashville is a part of the hospitality committee. There was one person in charge of making tea. Guess who that was? Yes, it was me. Yes. And I tried to stir with as much enthusiasm and as much love as the wonderful men that I grew up watching making tea. And so started doing that, and then I was soon asked to do tea parties where I would give some entertainment, but also tea tastings, which again, I found myself having to travel across the world to be up close and front. Yeah. So when you look at tea is really it's nature. And so just as nature has a definite personality, every single leaf that you get, everything that comes from the Camellia sinensis plant, it has a personality. Well, the herbal tea that my great-grandmother made me is certainly different from a cup of tea that I would share in a remote village in China with someone. Despite them being like thousands of miles apart, they still have some of these basic details: hospitality, civility, and community. And so all these kinds of experiences sort of acquiesced to, I said, you know what? I probably need to really make this an official business. And so those early beverage curations to those early tea parties, which now amount to over about 600 of those, to even giving talks about tea for conflict resolution, small business consulting. I mean, all of that sort of is how the business led me to it, if you can understand it. I know everybody say, oh, have a business plan, and I do, and I did. But each time I uncovered a different leaf about tea, there was yet another territory that had not been experienced. Ultimately, I mentioned the dots that connect themselves. Ultimately, tea is the art of hospitality, it's community, and it's civility. And so when we bring all of those elements to any customized tea experience, to any tea party, to any blend, or any sort of therapeutic adventure that we'll have, it really helps us use TT and Company as a launching pad to be able just to make the world a better place. I mean, we are so busy, we are so everything, but tea is actually this invitation. It's an invitation for us to sit still. It's an invitation for us to prepare the ritual. It's an invitation for us to participate and be present, and all of those things sort of help the cup overflow. And that's really sort of how the company started and how it continues to evolve. We would certainly love to sell millions of cups of tea, but if we can get families to sit down at the table for at least 15 minutes a day, to even put the phones down. You may have seen this article that's been circulating. Well, it had been posted several years ago, but it was recirculating, where you have two people, they're laying in the bed, and then they are holding their hands as if they're like holding their phones. But the photographer removed the phones just to show sort of how we are so obsessed with connecting to the phone. I submit that the same kinds of things that connect us to our phones, which is we want 24-hour connectivity. We want to know how somebody's doing, what they're feeling. We want to get affirmation from our community. Isn't that not what tea does? Tea does the exact same thing. And so we already have the behaviors to sort of change this, but, we have to, I read yesterday, with 7.9 billion people in this world, and then we have 1,440 minutes. If we have all those people in all those minutes, there is no way that we should be even thinking that we will allow a robot to pour our tea. It's just not the best kind of way. And so that is sort of how the company, has sort of started. You mentioned earlier, talk about, some of the highs and the lows. I mean, certainly when you are making the leap, I say leaf because I always think tea, but I'm actually using leap. When you are making the leap from like passion to purpose, or profession to purpose, it is really, really, really difficult. Because as I said, for years, the only thing I knew how to do was make tea, take tea to people in bereavement, make tea at church suppers, just make tea for dinner parties. But when you make the transition from passion to purpose and or profit, those are some really challenging things because, one, you have to reorient yourself. And so that reorientation for me has meant, taking time, spending time with small business associations, some of the SCORE mentors, connecting with business owners in my area. I mean, having celebrity business crushes, like a lot of people don't, know that I've watched the kind of stuff that they're doing, like you included, but you watch and you watch and you see how these people operate, how they operate in community and how, they operate, interviewing people and helping them share what they feel like. In its essence, that is hospitality. The research says is that when we gather somewhere, especially at a table, that there's this wonderful energy that emits, and it emits, and it tells all of us to sort of, in a sense, get information, but get into line and to share. And so that's what the tea experiences have allow me to do, but also they've allowed me to sort of, shift sort of some of this passion into a sustainable business. So it's been exciting, it's been challenging, it's been lonely, but it's been creative. And again, all of those dots, each day they connect and you see oh, I never even knew that, but no experience that I have experienced, from any part of my tea journey has gone unwasted because, again, you're just, working on 365 blends per year. It's not at the market. I mean, what are you doing that for? Well, I now have in my arsenal a very distinct method for the art and science of blending. I now know that a blend that you may test in October is a far cry from a blend that you may test in March. We look at seasons, we look at regions. All these kinds of things really impact what we ultimately serve in the cup of our constituents. And I just really, I don't take that lightly, nor can I take it lightly, because it also means is that I have to get my shoes dirty, literally and figuratively, going to the farms. If we're, moving toward more organic teas, what does an organic farm look like? What do those teas taste like? What they taste like in the cup, but have you been on a farm? Have you looked at the compost where they're actually reusing all these things and so that you can taste the tea? Those are the things that really sort of help define this whole tea journey.
Nice. Love it. I love your reach for humanity, and I've seen that post on Facebook that the photographer kind of had people take pictures without their phones, how life looks without those devices. And the next day I disabled all my social media.
Oh, did you? Wow.
Yes, just to clear the clutter, because sometimes it does get in the way, and I feel so free,
Yeah,
I actually kind of weaned myself from it a year ago, but still having the access to it, and those dings and notifications, I check them every now and then, and it does consume my time. But now I am off of it. I don't know how long I'm gonna stay away, because I kind of can't, because social media kind of helps fuel Vigilantes Radio, but just right now I'm taking a break, and I'm giving people the attention that they deserve when we are in face to face without a phone in my hand.
That's so wonderful. About 3 months ago, I did away with my cable. And it's been interesting because, one, I have read more, but I also have noticed that reading when I read what other people are writing now, how can I say this as gently as possible? Like, even like my sensitivity is different, and so I'm looking for a bit more like, you know, content or human connection. Because again, if you watch a lot of TV, then all of the responses of the people will be what you sort of deem as sort of the standard. And I mean, it wasn't uncommon for me to go a week or two without turning on my TV. But I remember visiting a friend's house, and the TV was on, and it suddenly seemed like so much noise to me. And I just had remembered prior to that experience, I was sitting and I was reading and I was drinking a cup of tea and I was reading a book, and the book was kind of communicating with me, but I was holding a book and I was holding a cup of tea. And as I mentioned, this sort of connectivity, even rethinking how we connect. And I am grateful for books, and I'm grateful for even teacups with handles that I have to hold that still connect me. And I think technology, is great as it is, it has in some instance removed us. My twin brother, which he just irritates me when he says this, he says, Janet, people don't talk anymore. And I was like, quit saying that. Quit saying that. He was like, yeah, you'll call somebody on the phone, they won't answer, and then they'll text you later. And I was like, no, that's just isolated. And it seems like every time he says it, it becomes so true. And so I think that tea gives us that opportunity, excuse to connect with people. I never, ever, ever want to forget the way the voices of my friends and family and loved ones sound. Like, that would just be a great travesty for that to happen. And so some friends, I have phone pals, and we actually say, okay, we're going to meet for a cup of tea, different states, but we actually pick up the phone and we have a cup of tea. And this probably sounds really weird, but it is nothing more enjoyable to my ears than to hear the person on the other line slurp a cup of tea or to sip a cup of tea, because even over the waves, even over the states, we can still feel that connection. And that makes me very happy. And it also makes me even more convinced that this tea revolution itself has to continue. You know, as tea-maven, it is important when I go to events, when I speak, I always say, okay, now understand that you are now part of the tea revolution. The tea revolution simply says that, one, I will take 15 minutes a day for tea for myself. I'm not making tea for anybody else until I have filled my own cup. If I'm needing tea in the morning, maybe I want some energy, so I'm going to drink something that's going to give me energy. If I am stressed or sad, I'm not going to feel the need to hurry up and move from that emotion. I'm going to even sit with some of my sadness, take a cup of tea, so that when it's time for me to get up, I'll be able to get up with a full cup. But sitting with your cup reminds you, okay, I have to sit with this. This is my cup. This is how I'm feeling at this moment. Let me take a sip of this. And 15 minutes for yourself will always help you make you feel better. And then next, 15 minutes a day with your loved one. Again, we are like in the wind. We need some, I always say, we need tea and we need eyes. We need to drink a cup of tea and we need to look in each other's eyes. Hello, how are you doing today? How did you rest? What do you have plans for today? Those are some ways that we can connect with our loved ones. And we are saying a part of this tea revolution is that you start early. I had my youngest tea etiquette class with a 7-month, and I can tell you that 7-month-year-old knew how to grab a cup of tea. And again, as a part of like tea as a part of social and emotional intelligence, we have to start training our children and our nieces and nephews and our grandchildren to sit at the table, to be able to sit with a cup. And so 15 minutes for yourself, 15 minutes for your loved ones, and then 15 minutes, sometimes, this is not always well received, we have to sit with people that are not like us. Okay, if we are like, spend money like all over the place, then what about sitting with someone who's frugal? They may actually help us learn some techniques. And maybe, people, we don't all come from the same walks of life, but what I have discovered all over the world is that in myself, in my body, in my knowledge, I have sat across, next to, around the table with people that were so much like me, but I've also sat with people who are so much unlike me. But no matter the difference, no matter anything that separates us, tea is that one thing that has brought us together. And I appreciate tea for doing that. I think as a part of this tea revolution, that tea is going to be something that is going to sort of heal the pain we have within ourselves. It's going to open up additional communications. It's going to allow us to see a different perspective, because unfortunately, our way is not always the best way. I sat with a known coffee lover, and I said, you know what, I'm going to sit with this coffee lover, and I am going to drink coffee. And that's what I did. Now, I was bouncing off the walls like all of the rest of the day, but I could literally feel myself expanding by sitting at a table, partaking of a beverage, and learning more about people. And so that's what that tea revolution is going to have to look like. And I think that we can make tea mainstream in America.
Most definitely. So I have a very important question for you. What about the guys? I don't want to sexualize anything or genderize anything, but still, a group of macho men sitting around drinking tea is not really the idea unless we're adding cognac to it or bourbon,
Correct.
So what has been your whole approach for the men?
Well, I can tell you, again, growing up with 5 brothers, all of them drink tea. All of them will sit with a cup of tea. Any of my 50-year china or an ugly coffee mug, which is still allowed, no judgment. But at TT & Company, we create customized tea experiences. I'll tell you some of my best experiences. First of all, I can't think of anything more that I love to see than a man drinking tea or men together drinking tea. And so part of what, I'll tell you some good things and I'll tell you some challenges. And so one of my best experiences was having actually a tea party in an inner city high school in Nashville. The teacher had invited me to come and have a tea party. I mean, I took a linen tablecloth with lace to the tea party. And yeah, it was kind of over the top because the tea party is a tea party. It should not, I didn't care who was there. We were going to follow preparation, patience, and presence. And when I tell you that those young men sat at a table, because most of them, one, had never been to a tea party, but two, one student mentioned that he had never even felt a warm beverage on his throat. And so tea was sort of this new exotic beverage to them. But as a tea curator, it was also important to pick the blends that would sort of be amenable. And so most young people often their taste, they like sort of fruity and tarty, but sometimes they like fruity and tarty with too much sweetness in it. So I had to recreate some of the beverages that they were kind of familiar with, but then also I had to introduce them sort of to a better way to beverage. And can I tell you, it was one of the most fabulous tea parties that I have ever participated in. And I told you I've done like nearly 600 of them. And then they enjoyed it. I also hosted did beverage service for a group of men who were meeting. It was some top secret meetings, so I didn't hear what they were meeting about, nor did I eavesdrop. But I made sure that the tea bar was set up, that it was set up with flavors sort of representing one, what mainstream, I had taken sort of a poll before to see if they were coffee drinkers. And so knowing that I had more coffee drinkers, we had to make sure that we had sort of stronger, woody, earthier blends, such as herbal mate. So we did that. We set it up, and I did just ask the host that if, when people started drinking tea, to take a picture of it. Everybody was drinking it. We did a Father's Day tea where men got together. Unfortunately, what I'm discovering is that men don't tea because guess what? They're not being asked to tea, because we think we so rarely see men, macho men drinking tea that we never ask. And 99.9% of the men who've been asked to tea, been asked to sit for tea, they have said yes. Another piece of the market, which is really, so also looking sort of at tea as a booster to athletic health, to stamina health, and then also sort of some of the more recreational activities where one would need a little bit more energy. I found that men have really been receptive to some of those herbs because it's going to sort of give a boost, and that boost is a way that you can introduce the boost plus tea. And then they connect boost equals tea. And so you'll always be able to share those herbs. And then again, tea for relational stability. I participated in multiple couple tea ceremonies, and it's basically helping partners, mates, couples, helping people learn how to come together over tea. And it's simple. I'm drinking tea, you give me affirmation. You drink tea, you take affirmation. And even that simple process, because again, we're so out of habit of telling our mates, like, oh, you are so handsome, or oh, you are so beautiful. Tea, and especially this ceremony, will give us excuses to do that. Now, the person holding the cup has to be able to sit and say thank you. It's a compliment, so anytime somebody gives you a compliment, you just say thank you. If you don't, it's like somebody giving you a gift and you throwing it back and saying, no, but I'm like, no. The only response is thank you. And so you have sort of a 15-minute time where you can sort of connect. And we've really seen some wonderful relationships repaired and restored even through that ritual of communal tea.
Most definitely. All right. Well, before I let you go, Miss Dr. Walsh, tell us about this new ready-to-drink tea that you released. Kind of the first instant blend.
Yes, it is so exciting. So this is sort of an interesting time. I think I mentioned every morning I usually make a blend of tea, and one is to keep my senses, to keep me sensitive to blends, and then, also seasons change. You want to check to see what those changes are. I guess I've done that, as I mentioned, had a family member very, very ill, and the only thing I had was a little ginger in my purse. Now, I did not have time to go put it in a bottle, shake it up, add whatever. The only thing I could do is give it to her at that moment. That was actually the beginning of sort of this instant tea, and it is just basically a package. You can pour it in hot or cold water, but it was an accidental discovery. We had last year released our bottled tea, and we were working with the co-packer, and we were trying to get our next scheduled run because it was the demand was really, really high for it, and we couldn't get on the schedule fast enough. And so what I told a waiting retailer was, okay, this is what you do. I'm just going to send you the raw ingredient, and you add your own water to it, and you'll be able to taste the flavor profile. And then the minute we get this bottled, you'll be the first retailer that gets it. And it's like the light bulb went off. They really enjoyed it. They were able to do it. And they said, oh, this is really great. And I said, oh, this is really an easier, more cost-effective, it's more eco-friendly. And then we put, like, the packaging and the bottle and everything, we put that into the hands of the consumer. And, you know, as we move in 2020, even that epiphany has sort of really made us think that we are likely in 2020 to be no more plastic bottles. It's just, we owe it to Earth, we owe it to the next generation, and then, we owe it to ourselves to that we can take to work or take on the subway or take on the bus and have that. And so that instant tea has been very, very popular. It's making its round across the country. We hope to be in numerous retailers nationwide with that. And that's kind of where we are. We are also in 2020. We will be repackaging our ready-to-drink tea, but you can probably look for it that it will be in a glass bottle because we want to ensure that it would be just a shame for us to not protect the earth, not to give gratitude to nature for all that it provides, but not being able to pass that directly to our customers that we appreciate and love dearly.
I love that, customers.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You're a genius.
Thank you so much. You are a genius. I appreciate what you do for so many of us celebrities and experts all over the country. You give us a chance to share our story, and that's really, I told you, that's really what tea is. It's civility, it's hospitality, and it's community. And you bring all of that to the waves daily, and we appreciate you for that.
I thank you so much for that. Thank you. Well, final thing, let everyone know where they can connect with you online.
Yes, so you can connect with me as the Tea-maven, that's T-E-A-M-A-V-E-N on Facebook. You also can connect with us at our website at www.teaandcompany.com, and that's spelled out T-E-A-T-E-A-A-N-D company.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Janet Walsh.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Yes, we will see you later.
All right. Have a great one.
You too.
Thank you, my Vigilantes family, as always, for checking out my podcast over here at Vigilantes Radio. All episodes are available for free download, and you can grab that from either Spreaker.com/only1media group, iTunes, YouTube, any app that's on a Google Play or iTunes store, or our website, and that goes from every single episode that we've ever aired. If you'd like to request music or a particular guest or send something for me to play, email it to theradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. If it's music, please label it by artist and title. Here's my disclaimer. We are genre-free, we do not judge, and we absolutely do not base our opinions on hearsay but facts alone. And actually, you can scratch all of that because all of my opinions are always right. That's the bottom line. This is my show, so deal with it. Nah, just kidding. On behalf of myself, Dini-Mussolini, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, either afterwards or live with us. Spread the word because sharing is caring. We stepped up our game just for you guys and our guests to make sure that you have the best experience here on our show. Be sure to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, as well as Spreaker. We always follow back. That is the number one rule. Okay, well, just remember to be yourself and be absolutely great at just doing that. Avoid being too comfortable because you're messing with your potential when you do that. Peace and have a good night.
You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, the people's choice for quality interviews, art, music, and hot topics. Hosted by Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds of the duo No Longer the Hero. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at www.onlyonemediagroup.com. This is a Seventh Sign Regime Rebirth Worldwide Syndicate exclusive.